Hey everybody, thank you for joining another edition of Lab Bytes here. This is, my name's Jamie, and this is Carbon's cool, what I think is really cool, cool little interview series where I get to spend time with thought leaders, industry professionals, and honestly, everybody that I am talking to here is actually just somebody that I consider not only very influential in the industry, but a friend. Yeah, and I would say that about this person here. Ashley Byrnes, he and I go way, way back. But in case you don't happen to know who Ashley is, would you mind just doing a quick little Ashley intro?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so my name's Ashley Byrne. I run a dental laboratory in the UK. We're a team of 50. That's a pretty big lab for the UK. We're one of the sort of larger in the private sector. Do a lot of lecturing, speaking, and trying to always kind of differentiate the lab, trying to keep at the cutting edge of things. It's cool times.
Really cool. You could have just said Ashley Byrne, international man of mystery. Yeah, globetrotter, globe hopper. Yeah. And I have to be honest, I think I've told Ash this before, but I'm super envious of his accent. It just sounds so cool. And I just have this, I'm from Seattle, but everybody tells me I sound like I'm from California. Yeah. I think it's just a West Coast thing, but anyway. So Ash, for those who may not know, or just in general, what would you say, what's one area that kind of a specialty or kind of a niche for Byrne? What would you say is that you guys are known for? Yeah,
I think implants is our sort of main sector. That's what we're known for. And it's complex singles, full arches, all on X, everything implant related. We're a full service lab, and I think when you focus on implants, you have to be good at doing the crown and bridge, the veneers, the removables, because all of that fits together around implants. But yeah, we're an implant lab. That's what we're known for.
Okay. And aside from that, how do you say that you guys differentiate? And I know that, so Byrnes is part of the Corus group, and we can talk about that a little bit if you want, but how do you feel like you differentiate your brand? Because this is a super competitive landscape now, right?
Yeah, very, very much so. One of the things I like about Corus is that every lab keeps its sort of independence, keeps its autonomy. For us, to me, it's all about customer service. We have a pretty large sort of customer service team, and we're trying to, our differentiators is really trying to make dentists' life easier, less chair time, simplify the process. That's our key focus, really, because I think as we go down the road of sort of, milling machines and software, it's very easy for two full arches to look pretty similar. So if we're going to differentiate ourselves, it can't, yes, we do really high quality work, but I think we've got to add more to this now. And I would say customer service and reducing chair time is probably my big focus at the moment.
Okay. And that kind of leads me to my next question that I wanted to ask you is, in 2025, was there a particular challenge that you faced that stands out to you? Yeah. And it doesn't have to be necessarily one that you solved. It would be, it's fine if you say, hey, this is something that we faced and this is how we solved it. Or if you're saying, well, this is something that we faced and actually we still continue to face it into 26 because we're recording this in February of 26, right? To timestamp it. So is there a challenge that stands out to you, one that you either kind of overcame or that you're still?
No, I think the UK, we've got sort of a couple of issues. We had this whole, we call it the cost of living crisis. Inflation has been really high. People have been really squeezed. The general consensus is that people just have less spare money. So the big challenge for us, I think, in 2025 was we actually had more cases in the lab. We had more dentists that we were working with, and yet our sales were flat. So it was quite frustrating to see the rise in the number of jobs, rise in the number of dentists, but the value of the jobs was smaller. And I still think that's a challenge today. I think this is not the first time we've seen this in dentistry. Our lab is 20 years old this year, and this is probably the third cycle. And last year we saw a lot of our smaller stuff also not coming into the lab. We were getting more complex work. It's interesting, a lot of that's come back now. A lot of dentists were pretty open with us, said, look, we switched to a cheaper lab. Their margins are being squeezed, our margins are being squeezed. So they jumped to cheaper labs, but they're back. They didn't get the customer service. They had more fractures and failures.
Right.
So that's a challenge. And I still think we're facing that challenge a bit at the moment. We've had huge growth, since sort of COVID times, and this is the first year we kind of plateaued. But I think it's back on the rise again. But I still think this cost of living is a challenge for all of us.
And I'm so glad you brought up kind of the flat year over year because, I'm fortunate enough to be able to interact with hundreds of labs in my role, not just in the US, but Canada and also in parts of Europe. And so many labs are reporting that year over year, month to month, that they're flat. Or they may tell me, well, in this product segment or this product category, I'm up. It could be all on X, I'm up. But this category may be full zirconia, I'm down. And do you think it's, you shared a little bit about, kind of in your region, what's causing that? Are there other contributing factors globally, you think? I mean, there's lots of disruption globally.
Yeah, there is.
And do you think some of that is leading to just uncertainty, consumer confidence, discretionary spending?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. And I don't think it is unique just to the UK. I know it's happening across Europe, and chatting to a lot of my really good sort of US friends, very similar. Multiple labs have said to me the same, that they're kind of, we call it share of wallet in the UK, that's down. A lot of our dentists are dabbling with other laboratories, and I think our dentists are having a tough time. We call it white space in the UK, which is appointment books having white space. There's appointment gaps. They haven't seen that since COVID. So we've had this really good long year. I think people are just being a bit more reserved. You can always push dentistry,
right?
And I think ultimately what happens is that you push it. If you can ride that bumpy time, it then comes back in floods.
Right.
And this is a third cycle we've seen. And I think there's a global problem. I think there's a lot of nervousness in the world at the moment. And people, instead of having, say, a full arch, they might sort of go, well, I'll have a couple of implants and a small bridge, and I'll try and get another couple of years out of these teeth.
Or I'll have a denture.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I think that the value of the jobs has reduced. It's really interesting. Like in our lab, we've seen kind of a flat line within the crown and bridge. We've seen a slight decline in implants. I've seen a huge rise in the removables and the dentures. And I think that is part of the factor that, there's a lot of dentures being fitted when there would have been crown and bridge. And I think that we're seeing quite a lot of that in the UK.
It's also something you and I have talked a lot about, and is the similarity to the lack of technicians and experienced technicians in your part of the world and ours. And that's something that's still a trend, unfortunately, that's continuing, right? We're having a massive shortage, especially in the removable space of experienced removable tech. So same thing in your neck of the woods, as we say here in the US.
Yep.
I
I think the technician shortage is I'm part of the Dental Laboratory Association. It's kind of like your NADL. And it is becoming a significant problem. We're seeing the number of labs decline. We're seeing the number of technicians decline. You cannot get technicians for love nor money. And we've got to work on, this is why automation, this is where the carbon machines fit in so well for us, that automation to me is something that we've got to focus on now. Because I cannot scale my business now because I won't have more people. So we've got to look at alternative ways of doing this. And what I want to really do now is, my big focus now is to automate as many of those mundane processes as we can to then help me to sell more products, to scale our laboratory, because I won't get those technicians. And I need a prosthetic technician today, a removals technician. And
like literally right now.
I need one, and I can't find one.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants a job, give me a ring.
Actually, yeah, that's actually a good. He's not kidding.
I'm not kidding. No, I'm serious. I'm dead serious.
I'll help you get a hold of him if you want.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So, kind of in closing, is there one piece of technology that you are really interested in? I mean, this is a great place to see it all, right? We're at LMT Chicago. We talked yesterday. We saw, the robotic arm's really cool, right? That's loading and unloading mills. Is there something like that stands out to you that you would like to really explore more in 26 to implement?
Yeah, I think, I think robotics, any form of automation, AI, those are the key areas at the moment. I don't think anything is quite right at the moment. I haven't really seen I've not seen anything automated. I'm not because of, we're here with carbon, but the only automation that's really working for me at the moment is the M3 backpack. That is just smashing out models. It's a completely stress-free part of my business.
Good to hear. Phil will be really happy to hear that.
I'm not saying that because of being at carbon.
No, I understand.
But it is working really well, and I need more of that. I want to be able to have that within my mills. I want to be able to have that in other aspects. I know you guys are working on post-process. Post-process is a real painful part for me, both in milling and printing.
Yeah.
And these are the bottlenecks and these are the challenges that we're all facing that I'm trying to find the solution. Great to see the robotic arms. I'm not sure they're quite right. And also I'm nervous of retrofitting an arm to a milling machine. To me, the milling companies need to be better at doing this. This should be all under one umbrella. So I haven't seen quite the solutions that I'm after, but I'm really interested to see that we're starting to see this development happening now. And I think next year, particularly, I've seen 2, maybe 3 robotic arms here.
Yeah.
I think next year we'll see 10, 15.
Yeah.
And then I think we'll start to see this actually having a meaningful impact on the industry.
I agree. I think it's crazy to say this now, and we'll look back and we'll see if I'm wrong or if you agree and you're wrong as well. But I think, are we going to see robotic arms like we do now? And in 5-6 years, are we going to see robots? Like a Tesla, like the Elon Musk robot, I
think there is a risk here not say a risk, I think there's an opportunity here that actually we've seen obviously Elon Musk has stopped manufacturing Teslas to focus on the robots.
Yeah.
We may find those robots overtake the robotic arms before the robotic arms are really working and launched.
Yeah.
So if I could have a Tesla robot in my lab that was taking the pucks out, cutting the zirconia out and putting it in the sintering furnace, I'd buy one tomorrow.
Right.
And then there's no need for the robotic arm. So I think there is a chance that the robots will overtake before we implement this.
Would you how you guys, something that's so cool about at Byrnes is you guys have your culture is amazing, and you have like your cookouts and all that stuff that you guys do. You're always grilling with your big grill.
Yeah.
Would you have a robot grilling, or do you still want to grill?
That's my job.
That's your job.
That's something that AI can't do, and that's not robotics can't do. No, I'm not having a burger flipper. I want to check that steak myself.
Nice. Well, and so just kind of last in closing here, just kind of a fun question. Just it's nice for people to get to know a little bit more about you aside from all the business things that we're talking about. Something that is so cool about you and you and your wife also, you guys travel a lot, and you guys broadly throughout Europe and just the world in general. So I always am asking you, you and I have gotten to hang out in Ireland and share some too many drinks and some good food. And what is, I think it might be fun, is just what is the best food that you guys have ever had anywhere in the world, and then just for fun, like what's some of the worst food you've ever had? Don't tell me where you got it. Like we don't want to.
Okay. No.
Yeah, but like what's the best meal that you've ever had?
I mean, I think best meal I've ever had. That's a big question. Now, I mean, there are some incredible high-end restaurants. I love Mexican food. I've actually never been to Mexico, which is ridiculous. That is my favorite food.
Put it on the list. It has to be on the list,
right?
Yeah,
it will be on the list for sure. I mean, I love, I think actually probably I'll tell you, one of the best meals I think I've ever had was probably more experience. Was one of my best friends lives in Laos, Southeast Asia, and the village cooked for us, and it was, they slaughtered the animal. Nothing went to waste. It was nose to tail.
Wow.
Even like some of the things inside the stomach was used to make like a dip. Food was incredible. It was all cooked locally right in front of us. Horrifically spicy, some of it.
Right.
But I love the fact that nothing was wasted. And the kids that were there, because we were Western and we were kind of in an area that isn't Westernized. Yeah. And actually, they don't really see Western people. They were trying to grab the best bits of the pig to make sure that we would have them as guests.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
And I think that was probably the most memorable meal.
Wow, I see why. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
And I love my wine. I think my second favorite meal actually was actually with a good friend of mine, Xavi, who's part of the Createch sort of Straumann group.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He booked this little quad bike. We went up to the mountains of Rioja, and we just had the most incredible barbecue, which was cooked off the vine cuttings with wine in the Rioja region. Sun was shining.
God. Amazing.
Exceptional. So probably those are two my highlights.
Okay. Awesome. And what about the worst food you've ever had in your whole life? Some people would say like blood.
Yeah.
I might say like I'm not a fan of like blood sausage and blood pudding.
No, I'm all over that. I love that. I would say the worst. I think one of the worst meals. We've had. I remember going to a steak restaurant many years ago, and it was towards the end of the night, and they very kindly agreed to cook me a steak. And they said to me, would I like some sauce with it? And I said, yeah, no problem at all. And this steak was supposed to be medium rare, and it was like leather. But it came in a soup bowl, and the sauce was that deep. So the steak was in the bottom of it.
So a steak soup is what it was. But
and it was the worst steak of my life.
Okay.
And I remember that, and that still traumatizes me. Sadly, that was in the UK, by the way.
Oh,
terrible.
Interesting.
Ashamed, but there we go.
Well, thank you so much.
Cool, no
my friend.
problem.
I
Absolute
really
pleasure.
appreciate it. Hopefully,
Yeah.
this was fun for you and
Yeah,
fun for
without
everybody
doubt.
watching. And
Hopefully.
thank you all so much. We'll see you on the next episode of Lab Bytes.
Cool.